Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Yo, that's so angry, guys.
Nope.
Hey, that's pretty good.
We're getting professional up in here.
This is a hat tip to all the OGs. We are fully back with intro and all. I remember those days when this played during a couple bear markets, and man, was it an encouraging intro for me. So enjoy.
So that's the bottom indicator? Is that what you're saying? As you guys saw in the title, that is what we are going to be talking about today. Also, we have special guests.
Absolutely.
We're going to be bringing all of our other co-hosts on this morning as well. But let's get into some of the other stuff real quick. Just on this August 26, 2022, it is 9:01 a.m. So we appreciate you guys showing up and showing out for us. Hit that like button on your way in the door. But right now, the S&P is down just slightly, 8 points. The Dow's down 21 points. Looking at the NASDAQ, that is down 28, which is good for 0.2%. A little bit of a shakeout, I guess, maybe as we head into today's Fed meeting at Jackson Hole. So there's going to be some probably moves influenced by that later this afternoon. Bitcoin's down 100 points or 100 Satoshis. I'm never going to get out of saying that's never going to. I'm always going to say points.
Well, points are good.
Okay.
Points are good.
All right. That's fine.
It's general.
It's down 0.5%, sitting at 21,560. And while we look at some of that other stuff, and while we're waiting on our guests later in the show, let's go ahead and bring on some of our co-hosts. We got Greg in the house. What's up, Tamp? Our usual suspects. And then last but not least, we got Don in the house too. What up, Don from the Don Show?
Going on?
Hey, guys, the intro. So angry, guys. Well done on the intro. Nope. Don, that's some back in the day type stuff.
Yeah. It was quite a bit of energy.
Good morning, everyone.
It was good.
Morning, Greg.
What up, big guy? All right, so we got a couple of things to discuss, and as I had mentioned before, we're going to be bringing on Joseph, our special guest this morning. Really looking forward to hearing from him and what they have going on over there at Catawba. One of the big headlines that I actually wanted to bring up today, and it kind of ties into what we're trying to do with Medify in general, but it was that Elon Musk bought a tiny house from a startup company, and the startup company is now blowing up. It's absolutely crazy to see how this thing has been moving. But there's a company out there that built Elon Musk's tiny home, and it surpassed 24 million on its current crowdfunding campaign. Pretty crazy to see that. It just seems like whatever Elon touches just turns to gold.
Midas touch, baby.
Yeah. Can we just get him to, I don't know, buy something of ours? Can you get him just to buy a couple miners from Medify?
Yeah, for Doge.
I know, right?
Oh, Elon.
I know.
At Hello Medify. Just at Hello Medify.
There can only be one Doge Lord, though.
Ours.
That's right.
He was Doge Lord before Elon even
heard of Dogecoin. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But the company's flagship product, the boxable Casita, is a 20 foot by 20 foot accessory dwelling unit that can be delivered directly to a customer's backyard and ready to occupy in an hour, which is crazy. The unit is fitted as a studio apartment with a full size kitchen, bathroom, and living room, and it is expected to sell for $50,000. Company recently completed a $9.2 million order for the U.S. government and has a wait list of over 120,000 units. I would venture to say that $24 million probably isn't, probably is cheap at this point, just given the wait list that they have. But Elon, I mean, the richest dude in the world is living in a 20 foot by 20 foot home.
That's a focused man.
It kind of reminds me of when Bezos was a billionaire driving around in a Honda Accord.
Yes. Remember that interview?
Yeah.
How does he fit all the kids in there?
That's what I was wondering myself.
In Tamp and Greg, we've witnessed that even within Medify.
Yeah.
I think we need to get a couple of those for Medify. We'll put them on property.
Might as well.
I like it.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
I'm going to put one in my backyard.
Nice. We'll do barbecues out there, Don.
That just sounds cool. That sounds like my own office.
I would get one.
Have any little kids coming around?
Yeah, if you need to get away, that is the man cave right there.
Yeah.
The actual,
Hey, or your she shed.
or that, yes.
Yes. You need a break, Don.
You got to be inclusive.
I'll get another one then. Fine. I'll buy 2 of them.
So I just thought that was interesting to bring to kind of be the icebreaker this morning. But getting into some more heavy stuff, there's an article that came out by CNBC's Make It, and this was also very interesting. And I kind of wanted to get our perspective on this a little bit because this is always the running theme, right? When we're trying to introduce hold
We're
on.
gonna zoom in for you guys.
Oh yeah.
If you scroll, put the mouse in.
Whoops. On the side. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right.
The Padawan has become the master.
I know.
No.
I'm terrible at hotkeys.
It was sheer necessity, guys.
Anyhow, this, one of the big themes with cryptocurrency, obviously, especially with the noobs, is, that everything's a scam, right? And there's a lot of things that kind of support that argument, and one of them being this. So this is something that came from CNBC's Make It. So it got a text from a wrong number. Could be an attempt at a pig butchering, a crypto scam costing investors millions. Now, I'd never even heard of pig butchering, and I wanted to kind of have you expand on that a little bit, Jaime, and
Sure.
talk about this.
So the pig butchering, it literally they create. Oh, thank you. They actually begin a conversation, and it'll be something. And I've been hacked, guys. So I had the pig butchering on an older phone, and I still get these texts where it's like, "Oh, John, I know you're coming in. I'll pick you up at the airport. What's your flight number?" Or you'll get a notification from the your Amazon, quote unquote, your package can't be delivered. Please confirm address. So you'll see that type of communication, or they'll go after someone who's single. Hey, John. They'll pick a generic name that very likely recommend I meet you. So you'll see those texts coming in. Well, that's how they snag you. They start the conversation, and then they warm you up and start bleeding you.
So Jaime, you got scammed. Was it romance or riches?
It was actually they social engineered. Ledger had gotten hacked, and they reached all the addresses of anyone who's purchased ledgers, got out into the black market and to the dark web, and they social engineered my cell phone company, T-Mobile, and they actually changed the ESN to someone else. And I got the notification through Telegram that, hey, there's a request and it's been approved to sign you in. And the only way you could do that in Telegram was through your mobile phone. And I got the notice. I looked at my phone and it said, your ESN has been transferred to your new phone. So of course, 45 minutes later, I got that reversed, but the damage had been done. So this type here is a longer play where they actually get you engaged in they grow you fat as a pig and then butcher you, if you look at the analog here.
So the question that I wanted to pose to everybody was, what are some steps that we can take to prevent from getting scammed? And Peter mentioned something, said just be careful out there. With scams, we'll be doing a more educational series helping us learn how to be safe. So stay tuned for that. But just in short form, what are some suggestions you have for some people out there?
It's no different than any other scam out there, except it involves crypto, right? It's no different than don't answer text messages from people you don't know. The numbers aren't familiar. Don't give people your banking information. The IRS or the bank is not going to text you and ask you for your account information. It's all that same stuff. It's just now tied to crypto too, right? There's just another victim in the line.
Absolutely. And never, ever, ever call back or communicate back through text. Just pull out your credit card or whatever your bank is and call that number and just say, hey, did you just reach out to me? And get in through that way. If they reached out to you, do not give any personal information, no matter how convincing it says they're the bank. So
right.
let's do that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That no legitimate company will ever reach out to you or anybody else first. So even if they say, "Hey, William," and you're like, "My name's Ann," they will never reach out to William, fake William, first either. So if they reached out to you first, stop. Just stop right there. And then, like Jaime said, Google the number that's trying to get a hold of you and say, "Hey, did you guys just call me because I'm getting a number?"
I'm literally getting a ton of these. They're actual, not on any app though. They're actual straight text messages.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
here.
No, yeah, it's a text.
I showed
straight
Brad
text message.
My phone that got hacked, and is just
Bunch of naked chicks.
no, the other chat.
So it was romance.
Oh.
It was romance. Peter even called
I
that.
know, Peter. Come on. I'm not better than that. I love my wife. What am I, suicide?
Yeah, but other women apparently love you.
Yeah, it's a dude. And let's look at the other side. Bro,
But you show your wife that. Show her you're in demand. Like, hey.
That's right. There you go.
You don't gotta tell her. So
Stock go up. Yeah.
sick.
I love it. All right. So good conversation there. Hopefully you guys learned something from that article. Last but not least, before we get in to our guest of honor for today, is the title of today's show. Is there a potential metric that is signaling a Bitcoin bottom? And this is something that I actually came across last night, and I wanted to hear you guys elaborate on this a little bit more, because I think that you can bring a lot to this topic. But and it was funny, Greg actually said off air that he was reading this as I put this in our pre-production little chat. So hash rate and buy signal and how they correlate together. Hash ribbons, to be more specific, is this metric that we're going to be talking about, and it's an indicator that tells us how fast or slowly people are mining Bitcoin. Is that correct?
Greg, you want to start it off, and we'll fill in right behind you of what you saw.
That is correct. So the 30-day moving hash rate fell more than 7%, even as much as 10%, and that means the miners are turning off their machines. For them, it's too expensive to mine at that point in time versus the amount of coin that they're making. So when that happens, that normally corresponds pretty well with the market bottom.
Absolutely. And Don, your lagging indicator versus a leading indicator. The hash ribbons, to me, is a lagging indicator. What does that mean? Is that the information you receive when you finally get the signal, it's after it has already happened or begun happening. So in the case of these hash ribbons, just like Greg said, which is our field of operations, is you start turning up miners, you start acquiring more miners, and you start lighting them up. So it shows production start rising. Yep. Now there's moving averages that will come and converge. At the point of convergence is literally when the buy signal is triggered, or where the quicker moving average crosses up of the slower moving average. If it's the opposite direction, where the quicker one crosses below, it's a indicator of sell, meaning they're shutting down production or reducing production. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what you see here. So
I actually was just looking at, this is a 5 minute on Bitcoin. I was trying to figure out what's going on. The index has just jumped too.
And part of that too is simple supply and demand, right? When miners start turning their machines off, it's not because they don't want the Bitcoin or they're not happy with the price. It's because the power to use those machines has exceeded the cost of the Bitcoin that they need. So what that means is when the worldwide pool of miners start getting turned off by choice, now all of a sudden the reward for solving a block is a lot higher. So the miners that are still on are getting more Bitcoin for doing their job now, compared when there's a whole lot of miners on, right? So that's part of when the hash rate starts going back up, that's part of people saying, okay, like we're getting paid again. Let's get back in there and let's get our share of the pie back that we had to get out of. So it's a great indicator of a rising use and price.
Great point, Tamp.
So backwards though.
it is.
I feel like, like, why would you stop? Like, I don't know.
No,
It does make sense.
It's the ones that aren't hodling are the ones that are stopping. Okay, it's the ones that are using their coin every month to pay their bills versus having enough financial backing and runway to be able to ride through that bear market.
Poor planning on
Yep.
behalf of one's mining. Absolutely, Greg.
Now, one question that I wanted to pose, as far as this is concerned, is if hash ribbons can be a reliable indicator. And one of the reasons I'm asking this is because if you followed the hash ribbon indicator in 2021, we saw that in August was when that crossover happened on the 30-day, and it only lasted for 3 months before everything rolled back over. So, to your point about a lagging indicator, is by that time in August of 21, we had seen Bitcoin go from 25K at the very beginning of that year all the way up to about 50K before that crossover actually happened. So Bitcoin had doubled by then.
Correct.
And we've started to see some pretty strong movements right now. And so my question to you is, can this actually be relied upon, or what's the lesson we can learn from?
It is reliable. And it's almost, imagine this at the mining facility, the ones that did not plan, like Greg said, boys, it's coming. Light these puppies up. We're gonna get rich. That's literally what's happening. So what we look at is a leading indicator, which we'll cover at another time, is the ones that are reporting exactly what's occurring at the time, or even ahead of time, where you can predict, okay, here's what's going to happen next because of these influences. But that esoteric stuff, we'll get into it afterwards. But it is a reliable one because it's actually showing you how many miners are coming online to take advantage of that run-up that's coming. So it is reliable. It's almost like a confirmation indicator. Well, not almost. It is a confirmation indicator that, yes, indeed, we have reached this point. But like you said, usually we're already halfway up or at a considerable from the bottom elsewhere. But it is a good confirmation indicator for you to make a decision of entry or exit.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
How does this supersede supply and demand, though? Let's say all this is going on, but still everybody's selling Bitcoin.
So go ahead.
Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
No,
Tamp, go ahead.
Well, I'm anxious to hear what Greg has to say, just because I have a feeling it's going to be from two different mind points, according to what's most important to you. But we cannot forget that Bitcoin is a deflationary asset, right? So supply and demand is true supply and demand. And I think this is also like Chomsky. We know he's told us before that he has some miners in his house. If you can find making income from the miners as well as making income from their output, which is heat in this case, now, even if the price of Bitcoin is way down and maybe Chomsky is mining Bitcoin on a negative scale, he's still heating his house in the wintertime for free. So he can keep his miners on because he's still making money by not paying a heating bill and having his miners on, right? So it's cool to think about supply and demand that way too. Even if demand is down, the price is down, you can still run your miners if you have a secondary use for justifying keeping them on despite the price, right? True deflationary asset makes a difference with supply and demand.
And one other, to respond also to your question, Don, is it's mining. So it kind of follows gold mining, silver mining, but we won't go into those weeds just yet. But there's a stock to flow indicator and chart that you can look into Bitcoin.com and also Glassnode. You can actually see the effects, how it works, and we can dive into that on one of our future shows.
Yeah,
we'd love to get in there.
Perfect. Good stuff, guys. I thought that was great. I thought these were some great topics that we talked about this morning. And just checking back in on the indexes, everything just turned green, and I don't know what happened, but we just saw a huge move to the upside. At the start of the show, just 20 minutes ago, everything had been pointing red, including Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now up 1%. It was down 1%. Looking at the S&P, it's up 1/3%. Dow's up now 153 points. Nasdaq's up 55. huge switch here. I'm not quite sure what happened. If I find out what's going on, I'll certainly let you guys know.
Do you think it's part of the Jackson Hole meeting today?
I think that has something to do with that.
The way we can find out is if we text Pelosi's husband.
We should. He's in jail for the next 5 days.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we got it's 30 minutes after open is Powell's speech. So if anything, I hope they're doing is running up just to drop it.
Right. Yeah. We got buys down there, guys. We got buys.
Exactly. All right. So the man of the hour is waiting behind closed doors here. We're going to go ahead and bring him on. It is Joseph from Catawba. And I'm really interested in hearing what he has to say. I know that you guys will too. And Jaime, I'll go ahead and let you finish that introduction for
So
Joseph.
we've been speaking about what the CDEZ Catawba
Digital Economic Zone.
Thank you. Has been building, and what it means not just to the Catawba Nation, but to the crypto nation, to all of us out there involved. It's really significant. It's not just a local concept. Joseph has been working nonstop around the world, and we will have a full, detailed conversation with you also, Joseph, on what brought you to this point. But go ahead, please give us the beginning and where you're at. The floor is yours, my man.
Perfect. Well, first, before I do that, I wanted to answer the question that you had about the Fed, because I was interested in that as well. Turns out about 20 minutes ago, the Fed's favorite inflation measure jumped less than expected. So that's probably why markets are rebounding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Joseph.
Yeah, for sure.
Knew somebody was going to get it.
You want another gig?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm on the market. No. I got a boss. Their name is Catawba Indian Nation.
All right.
So a little bit about the Catawba. They've existed for thousands of years here in the United States, in what is now the Carolinas, both north and south. Actually, they existed all the way up to Virginia and in some places down to Georgia originally. They were a very large tribe. And like most Native American tribes, especially on the East Coast, they were decimated by a mixture of disease and warfare and what have you. But they still retained their status for much of the history in the United States. That changed in the 1940s under the termination policy, in which many tribes, thankfully many have returned their sovereign status. Many tribes lost their sovereign status, including the Catawba. And the Catawba then began the long process of fighting for their sovereignty back. And they used every tool at their disposal, and they continued their self-governance. And eventually in 1993, they were able to secure their sovereignty back. There was some restrictions on it in terms of gaming. So unlike other Native American tribes, they were hampered in how they were to express their sovereignty because of, for better or worse, sovereignty and legal authority is often fungible with money. And a lot of other tribes in the United States were able to use gaming. So the Catawba had to be a little bit more creative, and they've had a bunch of different business ventures through their economic development arm. And one of the things they decided to pursue is what a bunch of other nations around the world have looked at when looking at economic development and expressing their sovereignty fully, which is the idea of a special economic zone. And special economic zones are areas within a host country, nation, or government or jurisdiction that have different policies that make it attractive for businesses. Sometimes that's taxes. Sometimes that's even a little bit more advanced with their own regulatory framework, commercial code, et cetera. Some of the biggest success stories in special economic zones are the ones in China, especially Shenzhen. After Mao died, China realized that there needed to be wide-scale reform, but they couldn't do so on the whole country level. So they decided to allow some business people to set up special economic zones, including Shenzhen, to start doing business with China. And the result was tremendous. It was originally a fishing village of 30,000 people. Now it has that was like in the 60s. Now they have a population of 18 million and the same GDP as Portugal, Vietnam, and Ireland. And people don't really know about this, but the reason that Dubai is because they set up 14 different special economic zones with different rules in the desert, essentially, for all intents and purposes. And now it's the world-class city that all your buddies, when they have a conference to go to, they go to Dubai. And that's through the power of good governance, rule of law, and special economic zones. So the tribe got involved with that. And that's how I got introduced to this story. I've been building a special economic zone and governance nonprofit for the last 7 years now called Startup Societies Network. And they brought me on board to see how I could help. And the twist that I added to it is my knowledge on next generation special economic zones and specifically in digital assets and Web3. So we started working on a business model that attracted Web3 companies to register remotely, similar to an e-residency type program like Estonia, or registering remotely like in Delaware. We worked with the nation to develop a legislative package, while in parallel, and this is the part I'm most proud with, actively engaging with communities, with the Catawba, breaking bread with them, meeting them in person, explaining with them, sitting down for coffee, just building up relationships so they were the ones that were on top of the project at all point. And so we use that groundswell of essentially a grassroots movement for a special economic zone to secure a special session on February 19th of this year. And after final questions, it was passed in a landslide. So now we have a special economic zone with its own commercial code, regulatory body, and now that regulatory body is creating regulations in regards to DAOs, digital assets, reforms to UCC, and soon stable coins, banking, et cetera. And we're just getting started, and can't say anything now, but you may hear an announcement about company registration in the near future.
Well done, Joseph.
That'd be nice.
How do you compare to other states that are crypto friendly? Let's say Delaware, or I'm sorry, business friendly Delaware, but crypto friendly Wyoming.
So where we at least meet Delaware, so we exceed Delaware, but in the points where Delaware is known to be the most competitive, we at least match it. So the main reason why people like Delaware is because they have case law that's built up over hundreds of years. But our commercial code actually embodies that case law because of the source of our legal code is these template laws that literally take precedent from all common law jurisdictions over hundreds of years and aggregate that to turn them into black letter rulings. So that we have that already baked into the pie. Another thing that is advantageous about Delaware is they don't have a corporate tax. We don't have one as well. So we have that legal stability and that fiscal incentive right there. But on top of that, we have a regulatory body that's nimble. It's not a legislator with bureaucracy and special interests. The Zone Authority, which is like a Secretary of State mixed with a financial services regulator, is run by a 5-person commission. So they're able to move quickly. In fact, one example is the Uniform Law Commission. They just passed an amendment to the Uniform Commercial Code a month ago. Normally, states, when they're adopting these types of new amendments to the UCC, take 12 months to 24. We did it in under a month. So that's just an example of moving nimbly and caring about digital assets, because Delaware does not have anything that incorporates digital assets in their existing law. So we do. And on top of it, just user experience. You have to fax things or mail things to get done in Delaware. We have a simple to use digital platform. So this is kind of the best market to be in. The market you want to be in is where they have a lazy, expensive, and difficult incumbent. And I can't think of anything like that besides Delaware.
Absolutely. And now you guys have just finished with inquiry, or I forget the term, but with DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. And I know Wyoming also had finished theirs. What's the differences between if someone wants to launch a DAO?
So what we like to do is copy where we can and then improve. So we do provide a menu option. So we do allow DAOs to register as LLCs a la the Wyoming model. At the same time, we wanted to provide more flexibility. So we provided another option, the ability to be recognized as an unincorporated nonprofit association. Now this entity, so LLCs are already known as a flexible entity type, but UNAs are infinitely more so. They do not have to have registered agents. They don't have statutory requirements about member managed versus manager managed. Basically, everything that they have to refer to are their internal governing principles, which is essentially verbal or written or even smart contract requirements that the organization has for itself. So this is infinitely more flexible than other types of entities that DAOs can be. And while it's normally for nonprofit purposes, we created a part of the regulation which would allow for DAO UNAs to define what, how staking can fit into that and other forms of how DAO financing is done.
All right, Crypto Nation. I hope you're seeing how we're connecting the dots with crypto and what they are building at the Catawba Nation under Joseph's leadership. It's a fascinating opportunity, and not just for U.S. citizens. Anyone from anywhere in the world could participate or register. Can they not, Joseph? Or am I off on that one?
I mean, as long as the country is not on a blacklist and they are able to go through a KYC, absolutely.
Let's keep it clean, boys. So, no, and it's now this is more on the sidecar. How the hell did you go like a nation to now a bleeding edge legislative body in the crypto space? How the hell do you manage that?
Well, it comes down to the story that I mentioned about the Catawba. They had to fight for their sovereignty, and they were given limitations. Also, they're a small tribe, even compared to other tribes. They're less than 3.5 thousand people, and you find, especially in the latter edge of the 20th century until now, the nimble jurisdictions are the ones that are the most innovative. That's why you're seeing the Singapores and the Liechtensteins and these smaller jurisdictions outcompete others and now have some of the best GDP per capita in the world. It's precisely because, and I think this is actually said in the book Foundation, that while other large nations can compete in terms of military might, we, the small ones, have to compete with commerce and competitiveness. And that's precisely what's happening with the Catawba. They have limitations of size and what else. So they need to focus on what can make them competitive in the 21st century. And I can't think of anything that would be more relevant than for them to be competitive in the Web3 space.
Amazing work, what's being done out there. And we will have you on, Joseph, and your team to do deep dives into these advantages and how it affects the crypto nation, anyone in the crypto sphere, which is a fascinating work you guys are doing. And there is, so Peter, the Peter bot, just placed a question for you. What other initiatives do you have on your plate, Joseph?
Isn't this enough?
I was just about to say the same thing. What you want, bruh?
So he expanded and said, okay, how can sovereign nations benefit from crypto?
Well, I mean, it's the same that sovereign nations can benefit from any new industry. If you get out ahead of it, you can become the hub for that. I mean, before Detroit and Silicon Valley, lost their competitive edge, they were able to build these ecosystems precisely because they catered to them. They were able to become these giants of these fields. And those that are able to get to market quick and maintain it will then become the hubs of the future.
Absolutely. Economics and business 101. Own the place before anyone else does. Outstanding. Outstanding. So it's been great having you, Joseph, and we would love to arrange another. And our community, please post your questions. We will review in the comments section below, or join our Discord and participate in this conversation. We will also share the Catawba Nation's efforts, the CDZ, their links to their Discord, so you can engage and start participating. If you're an entrepreneur and you're in the crypto space, for the love of God, get engaged, because this is a great opportunity and you'll be bleeding edge. Keep that in mind.
I really like this question from Peter too. It says, if you had your way, what regulatory constraints need to be removed for crypto adoption to grow?
First and foremost, lack of clarity. I mean, we're not even in a stage where we're having over-regulation. It's a lack of clarification. Like, what are our digital assets? How do they fit under, commercial code and regulatory body? Simply defining it is really important, but also creating new avenues of innovation and freedom while making sure that you're compliant under all relevant law. For instance, in the realm of digital banking, for instance. being able to provide a way to charter banks that are able to conduct digital asset business that's not limited to simply custodying digital assets, but also being able to lend based on deposits and other bank-related business. So yeah, just looking at ways that we can define under existing law and providing innovation and freedom while at the same time maintaining compliance. That's essentially what this is, to provide the lowest cost business environment.
And keep in mind, guys, if you engage now, you can participate in the formulation of the regulatory legislative decisions. So the Catawba Nation, because they're nimble, they can adjust and grow with this industry in a way that no other state can.
Yeah,
So-
we're the first government to accept comments via Discord, so feel free to join.
Come on, guys. You need more signals than this. It's a buy signal, boys and girls. Let's go.
So, Joseph, how did you get into crypto?
I got into crypto because I was
Texting people.
to be frank, and I'm kind of embarrassed by this. I wanted to get into politics, and I was pre-law. But the more I went down that path, the more I realized that, for one, I wouldn't be able to get done the reforms that I thought were necessary. Two, you would probably get pretty dirty in the process. And three, probably end up absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
While at the same time, there were plenty of startups at the time that were starting to make significant social and political change without having that type of compromise, without having that level of immorality. And other people were also improving their own lives in the process. They, instead of arguing or voting on ways to change the world, they were building it. That's why our motto for Sharp Size Foundation is don't argue, build. So obviously in the crypto space, developing incentives and rules and regulations that people opt into fits very much in line with creating the social change that you want to see in the world.
That building on that, because of your background in Web3 and crypto, when you did formally join Catawba, had they already started talking about crypto and brought you in to further that thought? Or is this something that you had to basically convince them this could be the way of the future and legacy for your tribe?
The Catawba are a forward-thinking tribe. So there were already citizens that were engaging in crypto mining and crypto businesses and data centers and what have you. They were familiar. The difference is, and well, to be frank, this project is kind of unique in that sense of bringing all the pieces together, having the legal, having the crypto, having a full-on jurisdiction. So there's an education process with all of that. And the Catawba's led that. This is the Catawba project. This is run by the Catawba, voted by the Catawba, owned by the Catawba. So yeah, they led this effort. I just provided my expertise when needed be, and it was led, and the ball was run by them.
Great servant.
Yeah, especially when your sanctions came and you guys have to fight now, you have to fight for your sovereignty again. Were there other options on the table since casinos were out, and it's kind of the known go-to, on reserved land? Since that was not an option for you guys, were there other plans on the table that didn't involve crypto and ultimately crypto won out? Or was it always, we know crypto is the future and we're betting big on this?
Great question.
Just to be clear, I'm not Catawba, and I'm lucky to have them as my boss, but I'm not a Catawba citizen. So they do have gaming in North Carolina. Their restriction was with South Carolina. It was very difficult for them to be able to get the North Carolina land. So that was one way. Another way is there's Section 17, which is a sovereign federally chartered corporation. They do a lot of business with federal contracting, for instance, and that's a whole wide range of business from technical consulting to infrastructure design, what have you. But up until this point, no, crypto wasn't that big of a conversation. I think we really began with the crypto model kind of when the latest bull run happened. So this is when things became a little bit more normalized with everyone. So obviously, like I said, Catawba citizens were interested, but this is the first concerted effort in that direction.
Excellent. Good stuff. Any questions from you, Don?
Not yet.
All right.
Sounds
But
good.
I can see the wheels turning, though.
Peter had a question. So I
Yes.
heard that Catawba actually deregistered as a tribe, but reinstated. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, that's why I mentioned earlier in the show. Under the Indian termination era, they lost their sovereign status, and they fought like hell to get it back, and they won. They sued the federal government, and they got it back.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
And that was quite a long fight too, correct?
Yep, that was the 1940s up until 1993.
Yep.
Wow.
Do you currently
That's
know of,
understandable.
or are there still elders in the tribe that went through that actually had firsthand experience in fighting for their sovereignty, like literally going to the government and fighting? And I bet you have some really neat conversations with some of the elders that might have actually seen that.
Oh yeah, no, I've talked and worked with people that were engaged in that process, even negotiating with the federal government in the state of South Carolina to secure that. Jackie Conte, he's an elder within the tribe that we've worked with closest, and a lot of the people here on this call have met him. He was part of that process as well. Basically, the entire Catawba government, their whole mission from the 40s into 93. So basically, any government members that were in authority during that time are involved in that process.
Absolutely. And Peterbot just made a pretty good statement. Crypto has to be poetic justice to the Fed. What does that mean to you, Joe?
Crypto has poetic justice to the Fed. I do think that this whole project has poetic justice. It's Native American tribes were brought down by colonial powers using technology, and often by the federal government, and oftentimes by force. And the poetic justice in all this is an opportunity for the Catawba to reinstate their regal sovereign authority, but not do so through violence, and in fact do so through technology, and do so by making everyone richer, not poorer, by providing a space for everyone, by providing their sovereignty in a measured and effective way. So I think the karma of it is insane, and it has to be true, because it wouldn't make sense other way. Otherwise, the story that we're reading and writing and speaking about doesn't make sense. So it's our obligation to make it true, to make sure that the Catawba take back their legal and regal authority by moving this project forward.
And what's so beautiful about this is the fact that you're looking at it from a prosperity for all. It's not like, hey, you owe us this, we do. No, we're building, and we're going to build our way back into what's rightfully ours from the beginning. So, and it reflects, I can see how crypto is one of those. It's a beautiful platform to work off of to accomplish these ultimate goals that you have or that a Catawba have as a nation.
It's almost like the perfect mechanism for it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people in the crypto space talk about self-sovereignty. Well, to really get to the point, and ultimately having those types of technologies do provide a certain sense of autonomy, and they're very extraordinarily helpful. But ultimately, to have true responsible decision-making on the part of individuals using these technologies, you need a partner with true legal sovereignty. And this is the project that does it.
Absolutely. And Crypto Nation, just think about this. I know many of you have gone to a bank to take out money. And if it exceeds a certain amount, what's this for? You earned it, you built it. Now they're questioning you, what's this for? And not trusting that you will report it in taxes, you will report it. It's almost like you're no longer innocent before proven guilty.
Yeah.
The methodology. And this is what the legislation that the Catawba Nation are helping answer, or at least keep your assets yours truly, without it ever being squelched or taken away from you.
Exactly. And one point to reiterate, this project is firmly under federal law, like all the U.S. states. Now there's autonomy in being able to regulate and legislate within those lines. And there can be more space for innovation and clarity, just like you're talking about, to provide protections. But yeah, the federal government is our partner, just like all governments. This tribe is a sovereign and can operate as a sovereign, but you don't what's the saying? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with some other people. Go with others. We're partners with everyone that we deal with.
Excellent. Fantastic.
I love it. I love
It's
it.
awesome.
Joseph, I appreciate you coming on this morning and educating our folks. This has been a really enlightening conversation, and I really appreciate you coming on this morning, man.
Yeah, of course. It was fun.
Is there if somebody wanted to reach further into this or help you guys out, maybe they have Web3 experience and they want to help however they can, or they just want to read up more about the tribe in general and its history, is there any links or any place that they can go to dive deeper into what you're dealing with?
For sure. Go to our website. It's katabadigital.zone, and they have a brief history of things. A couple links to our regulatory background, contact page, and what have you. And then, you can get in touch with us, get on our Discord, and ask us questions.
Excellent.
Nice.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We certainly appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up on your way out the door, we certainly would love that too. And we'll be back here on Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern time to discuss whatever's going on in the markets, both in crypto and beyond. So thank you again so much. Have a safe and happy weekend. Joseph, thanks again for tuning in or for joining us today. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Have a great
That's
week.
all.
Have a good one.
Thank
Have
you.
a good weekend.